Now that you've found UBN Radio and discovered our quality talk shows, it's time to spread the word to friends, family, and the universe. 24 hours of music and talk. Radio without limits. That's why people keep coming back for more. That's ubnradio.com.
Good morning and welcome to the Larry Yates As Is show. This is Carolyn Wilkins and I'm the guest host today while Larry is in other parts of the country. So a shout out to the amazing Larry Yates. We miss you. We wish you were here. But in the meantime, the show must go on. And I am honored to be here in Los Angeles, and we have a very special guest that we'll be speaking to in a few minutes. But it is Brother Ishmael Tetteh, who is from Accra, Ghana. He is known as the Mystic of West Africa. So let us give a shout out to Brother Ishmael Tetteh. We are so happy that he is here. And I just want to begin the program by talking about just a couple of things. We always talk about what's in the news, and there are some wonderful things that I remembered in the news this week. We had last week, it was Memorial Day, and it was a time to really reflect on people that had gone before us to protect and defend a nation. So sometimes we don't have the opportunity to just pause and know that we have been held in a high level of safety and esteem in this country. Unlike most countries in the world, we have not fought in this land for several hundred years, at least an outright war, except the war between each other. And it seems like we are doing wars with each other in today's world. But at the moment, I just want to take a second and honor the men and women who fought on behalf of the United States of America on seas and shores and other countries to defend a world of freedom, a world of liberty, and a world of justice. So all of you who are veterans, my applause to you. I appreciate you risking your life and allowing you to have this country as your badge of honor and to protect the freedom of all of those who live here and live on other shores. And this year actually was a little different for me. Many years I've marched. When I was young, I used to be a baton twirler, and I was in a marching band with the high school, and every year for Memorial Day, we would have a big parade. And I lived on the East Coast, and there were parades in Brooklyn and huge parades throughout the city, and there were parades in smaller towns and flags waving. And in my family, I did not have anyone that I was aware of who had been in the services except my uncle. My uncle was in the Army, and he was stationed in Germany, but he was never nearby for us to talk to. And so years went by, and there was no one in the immediate family who was in the service. I had cousins and uncles and others. But it was just last year when I was doing a search on genealogy that I found that my father had served in the Army. And I didn't know, and my mother hadn't said anything. It was before they got together. So I actually realized this was the first year, because I found out last year, that I saluted my dad. So my hat's off to Albert Thomas Sumrell, who passed away many years ago. But I never got a chance to say thank you to him for serving in the U.S. Army. And I think his children didn't know and his grandchildren didn't know. So this is posthumously, I am recognizing him. So with that said, I'd like to have a conversation about liberation and freedom with someone who comes from another part of our world and who speaks to organizations and to a congregation in his Ethereum mission in Accra, Ghana. And I want to again introduce to you Brother Ishmael Tetteh. He is an amazing leader that I have known for 18 years. I had the opportunity to travel to Ghana, and I met him in his home city, in his home, in the location, and we came together with a group that was traveling. So I'd like to open the time for Brother Ishmael to share who he is and what he does in the world. And you can call in if you have any questions. But we're going to just get started, and we're going to focus on peace, freedom, and empowerment. So welcome, Brother Ishmael.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here and to share with the world family. My ministry, Ethereum Mission, simply means heaven's mission. The word Ethereum, from the English word ethereal, means heaven. And we believe passionately that world peace is possible in our lifetime if we will give attention to the fundamental issues of the human life. Recently, all over the world, we've been hearing news and rumors of shooting in this country. Sometimes those you want to protect you have become the people who are, I believe, causing you harm. In Africa, we have the same issue in xenophobia in South Africa. Mm-hmm. Boko Haram, our next door neighbor. So we hear all of these pieces of news, and when you really listen to your heart, I know many people are missing some heartbeats. Mm-hmm. That is it possible that we can make a change in this world? And the answer is yes.
Well, I bet you many of our listeners are saying, I don't believe it's possible. I don't see any evidence of, even though there are people that talk about peace, there's nothing that is happening right now in many parts of the world that indicate anybody's even interested in peace.
Well, when you really look at the population of the world, we'll say that war, confusion, and conflict is taking the stage of about 5%.
Is that all?
95% of human beings are peaceful. Or they are living in some degree.
They're not here in LA, though.
Right.
I'm sorry, I had to interrupt you with that, yes.
I do understand 95% of the world population. For example, you, my host, and the engineers here, it's been a long time since you had some real battle with somebody else. But we all go through some internal confusions.
Yes.
And that is where the battle really is. Mm-hmm. But when we come to the outer confusions and wars and conflicts we hear may form just about 5% or less in the world population. But when it is bad news, it is big news.
Yes.
And today, it is news when it is bad, slanderous, and when we cannot find something bad about it, we will bring the news that occurred in 1945, the Second World War, and talk about it. Because the integrally, the innate nature of the human being is peace and freedom. So anything that is contrary to it, the human being reacts vehemently. So there's vehemence, there is war in our minds just because we are hearing pieces of bad news all over the world. But when you hear the bad news, it always tells us that that's the reason why you are here, to be the difference. And the cry in you that, oh, this is wrong, is a cry of peace. It's a cry saying that, I am for peace, and this is not like peace.
So let me understand. I've studied with you, and I know that you are a man of peace, and you believe that peace is possible in your lifetime. But what I heard you say that I think is really paramount to this discussion is that most of the world is not at war, but most of the world is living in harmony with each other around the world. However, our media and conversations and stories and movies don't reflect that, and they reflect an excitement around war. Well, you didn't say excitement, but I say excitement.
You are correct.
Around the war and turmoil in the world.
And actually, we're giving energy to war and turmoil in the world. And that's just because the human nature is for peace. So anything that is not in harmony with that, we tend to give our attention to it. This is not our natural state of being. And that is not to say that all the wars and confusions going on are right, but it's only to say that we can do something about it. And we are enough to do something about it. What is rather challenging to me will come from the words of one of my mentors or heroes, Martin Luther King Jr. He made this statement, and I love it. He said, this world is a dangerous place to live in, not because of those who do wrong, but because of those who know the right thing and they do nothing about it.
Do not say anything or do anything
about it.
Yes.
So we form the majority, and we can say the majority are not at war with one another. Let us not give so much energy to the war, but let us do something about it. And that is what my ministry is about, to teach the fundamental issues, how to address the fundamental issues. For example, many people will give so much attention to racial discrimination, and because I'm white, and because I'm black, because I'm red, and because I'm yellow skin. But I look at the fundamental issues and I realize they are the same. They cut across races, they cut across cultures. I've seen families where children, siblings of the same parents, dislike one another. They are in competition with one another instead of working to complement one another.
Yes.
And that's because they have not understood the fundamental laws of nature, their own being.
Well, what does that really mean? Because actually I was going to contest something that you said, is that we're naturally at peace. Yet I've seen families from children who are 2 years old or so. I mean, a 2-year-old can pack a pretty large wallop. They lean back and they hit each other and they hit you, and when they want their way.
Well, that's where I say that if there is any war, the war is rather within.
Okay.
And that's where we address the fundamental issues.
So does it start at that young age?
And it could start even sometimes right in the womb, when you were right in the womb. You know, when mothers are carrying, and when you study nature, you observe that the being, or this little fetus in the womb, is a conscious being.
Yes.
And many mothers will tell you that they speak and this fetus responds, which means right in the womb, you were a conscious being. And many things that you allow to affect you as a mother is affecting the child too. So when we talk about parenting, it starts from the very first day of conception. When this knowledge becomes open to everybody, mothers will mother differently. But what I realize is that we do not really study or give attention to what is important. For example, one of the fundamental issues of life is relationship. Yes. Right from birth, from conception through birth till you die, you are bound to relate. yet there is no formal education on relationship. And if we want peace, then we need to learn about relationship. Who and what am I?
Relationship between who? People that live together, people that
First,
work together.
relationship with yourself, understanding
Okay.
how you operate. How do I operate? When you know how you operate, then you will know how somebody else operates. Then you can cooperate.
How I operate. So if I use an analogy of a machine, this is a machine that operates by getting up in the morning after having some rest and making sure I have fuel so that I operate at the highest level. And sometimes I choose low octane because I'm in a hurry. And sometimes I'll give myself premium octane. Hopefully that will help me run better. And I sometimes use an analogy with a car because sometimes we get flat tires because we haven't stopped to put air in, or which is similar to what we do with our bodies and don't pay attention. But I've used that analogy up, and I'm not quite sure can you please share what you mean by how we operate?
So you see, when you give the analogy with the car, there is somebody who drives the car. When the
Yes.
person understands that when I hear this sound in the engine, it means there's no engine oil. And I have to put engine oil into the car, then you know how your car operates and you can operate it. Many people don't know how they operate. They don't know even how their body operates. For example, when you study nature, you will realize that our psychology is in our biology. And the way we are formed as men and women, we have our psychological inner built up also the same way. In other words, we have innate characteristics. Everybody, whether you are a man or woman, you have innate female and male characteristics. If you don't know these characteristics,
You're going to get some pushback on this, but I'll let you continue.
If you don't know these characteristics in you, you wouldn't know how you operate even as a male person or as a female person.
So a
When I
female
do
has
workshop-
certain characteristics.
When I do workshops and I put a question across, how many men here have done something that you yourself, you cut yourself and you said, this is like a woman? You find all hands going up. When you ask the same question to the female, they will all hands going up. Meaning there was a moment you did something like a man, meaning you have a male characteristics too, even though you are a woman.
Correct.
And when you know these characteristics, then you know how you operate.
So there are lists. I am acting
And this is
like
only
I'm not
this is only
sure.
a tip of
Yes.
the iceberg. I mean, it goes very deeper for you to know who you are in your gender. That is only who you are in your gender. And then you also have to know who you are in your persona, your inner persona, your innate persona.
What moves you? What
What
touches
moves you, what touches you, who and what you are. Inwardly, innately, we are all good.
Yes.
Everybody was born good. Evil, error are the things we learned. So inwardly, everybody is maybe a kind person, caring person, generous person. But if you don't know how these even operate, then they will operate you. All right? Then you need to know also who you are in your senses. Unknown to many people, or many people don't know that the 5 senses of sight, smell, taste, touch, and hearing control kings and controls paupers. It is what you see, smell, taste, and touch, and hear that offends you. And when everybody operates through one or two of these senses as your dominant sense, if you don't know which sense you operate from, then you are really lost in the world. But when you know your dominant sense that you operate from, then you know who you are in your gender, who you are in your persona, who you are in your senses. Then you have discovered your GPS to navigate you in life. If you don't listen to nature to find who and what you are in these 3 areas, you do not know how you operate.
Well, what you have shared with us, to me, is new information because I don't think there's any class I've seen. We have biology class, we have psychology classes, but none of them necessarily put things together that say, this is about you. Because, for example, in psychology, when we study psychology, we're really looking at different ways and strategies and different people that showed what psychology was all about. So there were different theories about psychology. But when you study psychology, you're not studying your psychology. You're studying the theory of psychology.
You know, it's very interesting. I have this story. A young man he was in the leading role in the prison, and then they were giving parole. So the senior came and said, the prison officer came and said, select 10 people who will be freed today on this parole program. And then he counted 10 people and let them out. And when they had gone out, then he was also going out. And then the officer said, no, you've allowed 10. You didn't count you. So you see, we always focus on external except ourselves.
Yes.
You see, you do not have anything in the world until you have yourself. Psychology is the ology of the psyche. In other words, the study of you, your soul. But today, psychology has become study of behaviors instead of the study of you. And psychology, to me, must be nature-based. When it is based on nature, it will find the fundamental issues and will provide us with some great leading programs. Psychology is doing extremely well, but I believe it's still evolving.
Now, you've mentioned nature several times now, and I'd like for you to share with the listening audience how you talk about nature, because when we say nature, we're talking about trees and flowers and mountains, and I don't know if it has a different meaning to you as a man from Africa. Can you share that?
Well, I am a universal citizen. I come from Africa, and nature is my teacher. Everything happening around us is part of us. In other words, you are a nature being. You eat nature. The food you eat is nature. The air you are breathing, the sunlight, the water, all these are nature. Your body is 75% water, and the earth is 75% water. You are breathing air, which is coming from nature. So you have to know that you are a being of nature. Women see their menses every 28 days. The moon goes around the earth every 28 days. There is correlation between us and our environment. And when we understand ourselves as nature beings, we'll begin to study ourselves in relationship with our environment. For example, if you want to form a new habit or attitude, we are coming from Africa. Our elders will tell you to do it for 28 days if you are a woman. All right? And whether you are conscious of it or not, the moon is influencing everybody. It influences the ocean, giving it high tide and low tide. And it influences the emotions of everybody too. This is why some people who are not balanced in this influence, they are called lunatics. In other words, they are moon influenced. They don't have the balance with the moon. So as the moon is influencing the ocean, it is influencing the emotions of everybody.
Yes.
So if you don't know this, you wouldn't know why you are feeling the way you are feeling and how to take charge over yourself. So that's why we say that we are nature beings.
Does that have anything to do with astrology?
Astrology is a very deep subject on itself, but of course, astrology is also coming from nature. Astrology is simply saying that when people are born in this particular time of the year, it is winter time, so they are prone to certain type of diseases, or they are more predisposed to certain type of attitudes or characters. Because in winter time, you tend to be more inwards, so they can project that there's more possibility of you becoming an introvert than an extrovert. So this way, astrology uses the stars to calculate time. Before time, we had a 24-hour clock. Everything was calculated by the position of the sun and the moon. Hence, astrology still uses stars, positions, movement of heavenly bodies to calculate exact time and to project the possible psychological influences that may occur in your life. So it's still based on nature.
Still nature. So nature is your teacher.
And nature is you.
And is that from you observing nature, feeling like nature is everything that you do and everything that you touch? Or what does it really mean that nature is my teacher?
Nature is my teacher. It's just what I've explained. That when you know nature, then you start observing your feelings. Your feelings work in harmony with the moon, whether you are conscious of it or not. With the example I've given, now you'll know that, oh, my feelings work in harmony with the moon. Oh, that's why some women, certain times within their menstrual cycle, they are very moody. So now you know, oh, this is my low season, or this is my high season. You're very happy. Mm-hmm. When you know this, then you know how to operate with you. Because you know, this is my depression period. If I'm going to start a business, I wouldn't start it when I'm in my depression period. Mm-hmm. And everybody has something we call that. From the women's cycle, we were able to discover that everybody has what we call spiritual biorhythm. Spiritual biorhythm will biorhythm will enable you to know that certain months, even in the year, regularly certain negative things happen in your life, or your thinking system is not at its optimum. And other times, your thinking system is at its optimum. Mm-hmm. Now, when you know this, you know when to start a business. If you don't start the business at the right time and things go wrong, don't blame anybody. Go back to nature and steady you. Because everything in nature is within a rhythm, within a cycle. Everything is oscillating. Even electrical waves are oscillating. The sound you are hearing is coming through oscillation. So everything has its high and low tides. And watch the earth. It gave us mountains and valleys. So is life. Life gave us obstacles, high tides and low tides. You have to embrace your obstacles, then you can transform them into spectacles. If you don't embrace your obstacles, you will meet them anyway. So you see, a whole spiritual philosophy is based on you understanding nature.
Well, I am fascinated by this idea of spiritual philosophy, and it almost sounds like, I never said this before, that going to your teaching and training is more like being in a science class than being at a church. Is that correct?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
What happens is that
I never thought of it like that.
What happens is that we have brought deep, mystical, spiritual knowledge into scientific ways of application, so that it's easy for you to step into yourself. It's easy for you to, for example, do your spiritual biorhythm. It normally takes 3 years. Then you'll be able to chart your own path. Then you know this is my high and low periods. And again, you study nature and you observe that nature did not give us a straight road. Every road meanders. Nature gave us mountains and valleys. Nature gave us rivers, and rivers don't flow to the ocean in straight path. They meet with obstacles, and then they find alternate routes all the way to the ocean. Then you come to observe that there is a spiritual law here, that life is about pain, but pain is not about you. Life will always give everybody some pain, but the pain is for you to birth something good. A woman goes through the pain of labor to birth a child. So when you are going through pain, you don't sink, you don't allow the pain to lead you to depressions. You realize that, oh, something good is about to happen. So whenever I go through challenges or some difficulties, there's some excitement in me that something good is also about to happen. You see, it changes your mindset about yourself, about your life, and about your relationships with people.
Wonderful. Well, you've had a chance to listen to Brother Ishmael Tetteh, and I'm sure you are wondering where he might be speaking, what he's going to be doing while he's in the States. By the way, he's been here for about 2 weeks, and he's only going to be here for another 3 weeks. He periodically comes to the U.S., and he actually has not been here in the last 2 years. So let me share some of the things that he's going to be doing. He'll be speaking at the Agape International Spiritual Center this Sunday, May 31st, at 3 services. So if you're up for it, there's one at 6:55 a.m., the second service is at 9 a.m., and the third service is 11:30 a.m. And all three of those are preceded by a meditation time, which is 30 minutes prior to the start of the program. So Agape is in Culver City, and you're welcome to go to the website agapelive.com for more information. Brother Ishmael is also going to be in Northern California on June the 7th, which is next Sunday, and he'll be at the Church of Inner Light, the Church of Reverend Deborah Johnson, and that's in Santa Cruz. So those of you who are in Northern California can catch him there. And then he'll be back at Agape a little bit later on June the 13th, which is a Saturday, for an all-day workshop. And I'm happy to say that it's a workshop from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. And the work will be on organic spirituality, a fascinating time that you'll have a chance to learn more about what Brother Ishmael is speaking about today, and learn more about yourself, because that's really the person and the subject that you should become most acquainted with. So I'm going to go back to Brother Ishmael after I highlight a couple of things that he does. His organic spirituality program is focused on nature's spirituality and the art of living in harmony with nature. He has 5 programs that are the focus of his work. The first is the 3 mystical truths. The second is essential life education. Then there's nature's principles of empowered living, a program called the Center of Love, and another program called Growing the Empowered Child. And all of these have books, they have workbooks, and they can be found on the Conscious Humanity site, Conscious Humanity, CONCIOUSHUMANITY.com. And you can go to that website. There's information about his programs, about where he's going to be, and you can purchase product on that website. I'd like to have you spend just a little time on the children. The work Growing the Empowered Child is a very amazing work that helps people to learn how to be involved parents that will assist in elevating the child, seeing the difference and the uniqueness in the child, and helping them to become the greatest they can be. So, Brother Ishmael, would you share a little bit more about that product and the work that's done with children? In fact, at the Ethereum Mission, the children are a major part of what they do there. They do the children themselves help do healing at least once a month, and the children have powers and skills and capabilities that are not held back. So, Brother Ishmael, can you please share some of that?
An empowered child is a child who is happy, confident, creative, responsible, and with a drive for excellence. And to raise such a child is very simple. I've always wondered why we have had education system, we talk about peace, and yet we do not give attention to the fundamental issues. In my 44 years of counseling, adults coming to me, doing my healing works on various levels, I realized that everybody's problem is primarily starting from their childhood. So if we can stop the problem right from there, we'll be raising responsible and empowered adults. So the Growing Empowered Child researched over the years and discovered that the fundamental problem is that a child loses a sense of uniqueness, the awareness of his or her uniqueness. Then 2 major devils are born in him, or evils are born in him, and they are anger and fear. Human beings are peaceful people. Fear and anger are the forces that push us into war. What will make a nation develop weapons of mass destruction when there is no sign of war, except it is suspicion? And suspicion is a shade of fear. suspecting that somebody may rise against me. So if we can raise children free from fear and anger and restore them to their awareness of uniqueness, how unique they are, and they will now discover how their uniqueness can support each other's uniqueness. Wow. You see, we do this program with them and you find them in love with one another, because a child speaks about what is unique about him or her, and then when they have done it in a circle of 5, then each one will go through a second round of telling the other how his uniqueness or her uniqueness can support yours. And it goes round, and suddenly they start growing. Something start growing bigger in them. Their awareness of themselves, their awareness of the future, and the contributions they can make sort of rises in them, grows in them. Hence, we call it growing the empowered child. And this is organic growth, not just empowering children on the surface.
Well, that sounds amazing, and I imagine that some of the parents would love to find out more information about that. How are the parents involved in that growth of the child? And when the training is happening, is it ongoing? Is it daily? Do they come to a center? Or what's the best way for that to happen?
The best way is to have these programs in schools. Unfortunately, we have not gotten it in many schools. I think only 2 schools in Ghana. But we have them just in the church once every Sunday. And children come timid, afraid, and in a matter of just 3-4 weeks of coming and playing the games, because Growing the Empowered Child programs are all games.
Yes, the games, there's one game in particular that I really love.
The Word Empowerment game.
The Word Empowerment game. And we actually have someone in the studio who might be able to help us with that. And we're going to put her on the mic. With us, may not have camera, is Reverend Doreen Hamilton, who is the executive director of the Conscious Humanity Incorporated in Los Angeles. And it's the organization that manages the works and the products of Brother Ishmael. So I would like us to play the game, taking just a few moments, and I'm going to say, for example,
are you ready?
Count your virtues.
Count your virtues.
Are you ready?
Are you ready?
If so, let's start.
Let's start.
Let's begin with the words of power. For example, I am kind, kind, kind. For example,
I am glorious, glorious, glorious.
For example,
I am happy, happy, happy.
For example, I am wise, wise, wise. For example,
I am creative, creative, creative.
For example, I am happy, happy, happy.
You have repeated it.
I did.
So
You're out
of the game.
Oh, no.
And then you join the holders.
No.
Right.
I wanted to give you an example. I knew I said happy twice.
Yes.
We have a caller on the line.
Hello.
Hello.
This is Mr. Yates on the phone.
Oh, I am so glad that you called in, Mr. Yates.
Well, now, see, I am so enjoying, and I couldn't, I'm jealous, Carolyn. I'm really, really, really jealous at this point.
I understand. In fact, Brother Ishmael said, I like this location. So we realized that you had not started the show when he was here last. So he's happy
Brother
to be
Ishmael.
here.
Yes, Mr. Yates.
I am so, I can't tell you how much I'm so excited that you graced us with your presence. And the only thing that I'm going to say is that you must come back when I'm there next week to continue this conversation, because Carolyn does such a wonderful job. I tell her all the time, when I'm out of town, I get kind of jealous, because when we look at the numbers and the ratings, and the people really love her co-hosting the show, and I use the word co-hosting very carefully. But Brother Tetteh, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your wisdom, your love, and your understanding of humanity. Can I ask you a question before I get off the phone? Because I don't want to tie everything up. Brother Tetteh, can I ask you a question?
By all means, please do.
What does love mean?
You've asked a very beautiful question, and I love the question. What does love mean? To many people, it's just the romantic, animalistic feeling they have for one another. But when you come to me, love has a deeper meaning. Love is the recognition of the innate good and the divine in one another. So love simply means seeing the good and the divine in yourself and in one another. When you see the good in yourself, you begin to love you. Many people complain, oh, people don't love me. And I tell them, do you love you? They say, yes. Then I ask, give me 2 things you love about you. Then you find them stuck. Start your day by affirming the 2 things, 3 things, 10 things you love about you. In my Facebook, I put it there what I do every day. That I start every day by first running 10 good things I have done in the past week. And I end every day recalling 10 good things I have done in the day. And when I bring this to mind, it brings me to self-love. I begin to appreciate the universe doing the good through me. When I've finished recognizing the good that I do, I step into the next level recognizing that I do not have the power to do the good. Life does its good through me. So I open myself to greater good to be done through me. So life is always exciting. That's why I'm always joyful.
Oh, wow, my goodness.
That was a powerful
thank you so
answer.
much. That's such a powerful, because I tell you, Brother Tetteh, I've asked so many people in positions of leadership and position of authority, of education, or spiritual, that question, and I can honestly say that you have given me the best answer that I have heard. But I want to tell you, I'll be back in LA on the 2nd of June next week. Please indulge me in the conversation on the show the following Thursday, if it's possible. And I just thank you so much. Carolyn, you're doing such a wonderful job.
Thank you so much.
And and I'm just going to hang up and let you guys continue to do what you're doing.
Thank you.
We appreciate you and what you're doing. We'll look forward to having you back in your seat next week.
Okay, bye-bye.
So that was the wonderful Larry Yates calling from the East Coast. He's a little ahead of us on time. And I wanted to go back to thanking you for that answer for love and appreciate that. But I wanted to share with the audience a little bit about the word empowerment game that we did before the call-in. And it's a wonderful game that the children do that is actually recorded. An example is recorded on the website. But once you get started, it's really addictive. Because what happens is you are supposed to find words that come through you about being an example of how empowered you are, and of the good in you, and the wonder in you, and the things that you do, and the things that are exciting to you. So they're really an infinite number of words. We don't always remember what they are while we're playing the game. And if you start in a large group, it's kind of like when you do, what's that game you do with seats, where you musical chairs and you go around with the seats, and there's always one person left. And the word empowerment game is similar. It's whoever can be creative enough to come up with words that are supportive of who they are in life. But more important, it empowers the children to come up with a description of who they are and what they do.
Mm-hmm. In that game, here we were only saying the words. In that game, you're clapping your hands, singing, thinking of a positive word to say, and monitoring everybody's positive word at the same time. And there's no way the conscious mind can keep track of this. So another mind opens, the subconscious. So at the end of the game, children also create bridges between their conscious and subconscious mind, enabling them to have fast memory recall.
Yes.
I mean, can I gift your audience something?
Please.
If they can download an app called Ethereum Mission, that is the name of my mission, ETHEREAN Mission, MISSION. If they can download that app, that game is on that app. So they can download it, it is free.
Okay.
And for you to access it, you have to go to the membership section because it's reserved only for members. And the username is Ethereum and the password is love all.
Okay.
So go download
Username Ethereum, password love all.
And Ethereum is ETHEREAN, and then the password love all, one word.
Yes.
LOVEALL. And you can get access to the word empowerment game. So you see it taught with the children and adults playing, so you'll know exactly how it is done. That is the gift I'll give to your listeners.
Thank you so much. And the time has gone by so quickly. We are so delighted that you're here.
Don't I have a minute to talk about the workshop?
You have exactly 2 minutes to talk about the workshop.
Okay.
And I will give you that opportunity before we go.
Thank you so much. I appreciate. The workshop on the 13th, this is the first time I'm teaching it outside my advanced mystical group in Ghana. It's only about 1.5 years ago that we even taught it to the larger group. It's about your soul melody and your creative sound. When I knock this, it has a sound. Everything has a sound. What is the sound of you, your body? In what way can you find it? The sound, your body sound or your life sound, is the name by which the universe knows you. In this workshop, we shall go through the practicals for everybody to find your soul melody. Everybody has certain specific notes that you resonate with, and we are going to find it. And these notes constitute your soul melody.
Yes.
So you create your soul melody with your life notes. It is organic. Whether you are conscious of it or not, you have a specific frequency or vibration. And that is the sound or the frequency with which the universe knows you. The universe doesn't know English language or Ghana language, where I come from. The universe only knows the frequencies. We are all frequency beings, spiritual, energetic beings.
Yes.
So if you come, you'll discover it. And with that, you also discover your creative sound, because your soul melody plus something we call your life fulfillment sound becomes your creative sound. So you can create and recreate your life.
Yes.
If your life is not working, bring yourself back into harmony with yourself, with your own sound. You make your own sound. However angry you are, it brings you back to you. It's like, the anger is like, it takes you out of your center. Whenever you are angry, reason is thrown out of the window. And then you make your soul melody and it welcomes you back like a mother saying, come back to me, baby. It pampers you. And then you are back with yourself. So that's what the day is about. It's one of the organic spirituality programs.
Wonderful. Well, again, the program, Brother Ishmael is speaking at Agape this Sunday, May 31st, and is doing the workshop at Agape on June the 13th on Saturday. So I encourage you all to come. I encourage you to go to the website to look at the information. And this has been a delightful time to have someone here with such wisdom, such knowledge, and such willingness to share it. So we always have a final word, and I'd like to begin with Reverend Doreen. Would you share a final word of a thought to send with the audience?
That thought being that we are all anchored in nature and all anchored in the cosmos, we are one. And that oneness is what brings us all together in the understanding of who and what we are.
Thank you. And Brother Ishmael, do you have a final thought, a short one?
A very short one states that be you, find you, and welcome you home. You've got nothing in the world until you have yourself.
Wonderful. It has been an honor and a pleasure to have you here today. And as Larry says every show, a nation can rise no higher than it elevates its women. And we know that the presence of the female is always going forth. And something that I know you teach is if you have an idea, give it to a woman. So I end with that thought in mind, that we recognize the women today, we recognize the children, and we recognize each person being a unique presence in this world. Have a beautiful day, and we'll be back again next week. This is the Larry Yates As Is show. Have a fantastic week.